I signed it. It was a generalisation of the situation, and yes, I guess, Your Honour, I didn't take seriously the wording of it at that time.
Well, here you were reporting on a serious allegation, but you say you didn't take the reporting or the wording seriously at the time.
I don't really know how to answer that, Your Honour. It's what you're saying is probably true, yes.
How would you feel if you'd made the complaint and the person who was reporting on the outcome didn't take seriously the wording in the letter that they were signing?
I can see the point that you're making, sir, yes.
And tell me this, you told us earlier that apart from the touching of the breast allegation, BCB made other allegations to you, correct?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
There's no reference to those allegations at all in this letter, are there?
No.
Why not?
I can't answer that, I'm sorry. Not that I'm refusing to, it's just that I can't think of reasons why they're not in there.
Then you record there, we recommended to him that he be stepped down as an elder, and he agreed to this. Now, that seems to suggest that you offered him the opportunity to step down, and he did, rather than you removed him. Now, is there a distinction to be had? How are we to understand it?
No, it's just an unfortunate choice of words there.
So he was definitely deleted or removed?
Removed, yes.
And then you say in the letter, we feel no further action or restrictions need apply. Why was that? Did you consider other actions or restrictions which might be imposed?
In the case of a judicial committee, restrictions against commenting and having parts on meetings and things are what we refer to as restrictions. At this time, we didn't believe that Bill Neal need to have those restrictions put upon him.
Well, what about not having church meetings, Bible studies in his home? That strikes as an appropriate or potentially appropriate restriction which might offer some safety.
I agree, yes. I don't think that action was taken at the time.
Well, it wasn't taken. The point is, did you consider it?
I can't recall considering it, no.
And then if we look at the last paragraph of the letter on the second page, or second last actually, towards the end, it says, also, brothers, I would recommend that once this has died down and it appears that Brother Neil again has the freedom of speech, that he be recommended as an elder again so that he can be of help in the congregation, as he has done in the past. By this dying down, you mean once the controversy has abated, I take it?
It would take a long time, many years in fact, for that to have died down. That's, again, it's an unfortunate wording. In hindsight, we would have worded that much differently to what it is there. Matters of this nature take many years for, if ever, to die down completely.
And that was really the focus of your concern there about in taking action against Mr. Neil was about his reputation. Is that right?
Not at all, no.
Well, his reputation in the congregation, his freedom of speech.
is sorry, what was the questioning again?
Well, that was at the centre of your concern in deciding to remove him as an elder, was his reputation in the congregation.
Not so much his reputation, but how to word it?
Well, it suggests your concern is with his efficacy as an elder.
Yeah,
Is that right?
that's right.
I used to celebrate birthdays up until 5 years old. No birthdays, no Christmas.
I'll convey an apology to Your Honour and Commissioner. Technology. See, your concern as an elder there, as I understand it from this letter, was about the proper functioning of your organisation. Is that right?
Yes,
It wasn't about the protection of children in your congregation.
probably not.
It wasn't about what support you could offer to BCB.
That must have had some bearing on it, but yeah, it was more with his qualifications to teach.
Now, you say in your statement that you understand that Bill Neal was later reappointed as an elder in a different congregation. Is that right?
Yes,
And as I understand it, you had nothing to do with that.
no, that's true.
And under the existing practices, should you not have been consulted about that, having been the elder involved in his removal?
I was surprised at the time, yes.
But then if we look at tab 74 of that bundle, this is now a letter from you earlier this year. It'll come up in a moment. You'll see it's to the service desk on the 6th of January 2015, and what you describe as a brief summary of events leading to the deletion of Brother Neal from serving as an elder in the Narrogin WA congregation around 1993, while I was serving there. How did this letter come about?
Beg pardon?
How did this letter come about? What brought you to write this letter in 2015 to the branch?
Someone from the branch contacted me and asked me what my recollections were, and would I please put them in a letter and send it to them.
Was it explained to you why that information was being sought?
I think mention was made about the Royal Commission, but I thought it was one of the situations that was being looked at, and that it might proceed to the Royal Commission.
And by this time, of course, Bill Neal was deceased.
Yes,
And you knew that.
yes, I attended his funeral.
And that was, as I understand it, about 11 years ago. Would that be right?
Quite possibly. I don't know exactly the time, but yeah, that sounds about right, yeah.
Goodly number of years ago.
Yep.
Now, this correspondence is addressed to the service desk. I take it was someone from the service desk that contacted you in the way in which you've mentioned.
Yes.
In your understanding, what's the distinction between when you would correspond with the service desk or the legal department?
may have been a member of the legal department that contacted me, but the letter was addressed to the service department.
Well,
Service desk, yeah.
moving away from this particular letter, generally when, as an elder, you're corresponding with the branch,
We send stuff to the service
it
desk.
seems to me that there's some correspondences with the service desk and some is with the legal department, and I'm trying to understand where the
Okay.
distinction arises. So I'm asking you, what is your understanding as to when you would communicate with the service desk as opposed to when you would communicate with the legal department?
If the legal department had said, send it to us at the legal department, that's how the letter would have been addressed. In this case, they asked us to send it to the service department.
But generally,
service desk.
moving away from this letter, generally in your work as an elder, when would you contact the service desk as opposed to the legal department and vice versa?
The legal department I would contact in cases pertaining to legal matters. Our information now is if a case of child abuse was raised, we would contact the legal desk straight away. But normally anything that goes through the service desk, and then they assign it to the appropriate department from there.
Just to understand you, so you would contact the service desk but be expected to be passed on to the legal department. Is that what you say?
They would decide if that's where it needed to go, yeah. But as I said about contacting the legal department in matters pertaining to legal cases and things like that, if we needed direction in a hurry, that's who we'd contact.
And generally with regard to direction as to handle investigations and complaints, would that come from the service desk?
Yes.
Now, you say in that letter, in the fourth paragraph, the one beginning, when BCB raised the allegation against Brother Bill concerning being touched inappropriately, I viewed it very seriously. I listened to both to try and ascertain the facts. Sadly, it became a matter of her word against his. There were no other witnesses. And then you say BCB was an attractive young sister and often got around the house in her nightwear, as was the custom of the other children. What do you consider the relevance of that observation?
That was one comment that Bill had made to me, that she was wearing her nightwear at the time.
Well, it suggests that you thought that might have somehow lessened Bill Neal's culpability.
Not at all, no. In fact, it should have raised stronger warning bells than it did at the time, because it all pointed to the fact that he obviously had noticed it and was affected by that.
Because you accept, of course, that a child can't validly consent to being sexually abused. You accept that, of course.
Yes.
And can never be blamed for it.
Yes.
That's in the Church's own teachings, isn't it? That children can't seduce and should not be blamed.
Mm.
Yes. Those are my questions.
Yes, does anyone else have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Roger. Just in relation to the letter that...
Just identify
I
yourself
beg your
again,
pardon,
if you
sorry. My name is Gallagher and I represent BCB.
Okay.
Just in relation to the letter that Council Assisting was just referring to, behind tab 74, you note in that letter, don't you? Is that in front of you there?
Yep.
Not only the comment, the part of the letter that was just referred to by Council Assisting, but you note also, don't you, that Bill would kiss her goodnight as he did with his daughters. Do you see that there?
Yes.
That was very much lessening his, Mr. Neal's conduct, wasn't it? Do you understand what I mean by that? I'm sorry, you know the allegation to have been, don't you, that he inserted his tongue into her mouth when he kissed her goodnight.
Bill never admitted to that. The way that he put it across was that he would say goodnight to all of the girls before they went to bed.
So what about the accusation from the person who was abused? The accusation was, wasn't it, that the tongue was inserted into her mouth?
I believe so, yes. I can't recall that being said at the time, but it's quite possible that it was.
You took no notes of your initial discussion with BCB and BCC?
No.
Is that so? Your recollection was that they came to your home, that is BCB and BCC, is that right?
That's what I recalled, yes.
You understand that BCB's recollection is that you approached her after being told of an allegation from another member of the faith, correct?
That may be so. I don't recall that.
And certainly if somebody has been told of an allegation of wrongdoing, the faith requires them to come forward and tell an elder. Is that right?
Sorry, I don't understand that question.
If somebody's told of wrongdoing,
Yeah.
the Jehovah's Witness faith requires that person to inform an elder, isn't that so?
They give the... yes. Short answer, yes.
And that's how you came, do you recall, that's how you came upon the information that there was an allegation of wrongdoing from Bill Neal, not from BCB, but from another source?
No, I don't recall that.
In questions asked of counsel assisting, you indicate that just as to taking Mr. Neal to BCB's home, that your evidence was, is this correct, that you did not explain what the process was that was underway at that time? Is that correct?
That's possible.
Well, did you or did you not explain to her what was going on?
In the information here, it's put across that I went to see them with Bill on my own. I don't recall that happening. I thought I only went to see them with Doug Jackson, and I don't recall it being in their home. Normally those sort of events take place at the Kingdom Hall, which...
Yeah. You were 28 at the time, weren't you? Does that accord with
No,
your
I was about
information?
32.
32.
By 1992, yes.
But so still quite a young man.
That's right.
And how old was Bill Neal at the time? Do you know?
I would like to hazard a guess.
Certainly he was more senior than you.
Absolutely.
He was a presiding overseer, wasn't
Yes.
he? So that certainly if BCB's recollection is accurate that you attended with Bill Neal, it would have been a situation where he would have been the most senior person in the room. Do you agree with that proposition?
Certainly would have been the oldest, yes.
Sorry?
He would have been the oldest and the most experienced from the church, yes.
Yes. And the more senior member of the church in the room. And you know, don't you, that that BCB and BCC were both quite devout at that time?
Yes.
In the sense that it would have been obvious to you that you were, as an elder, trusted by them?
Yep.
And that they were handing themselves over to your guidance. Do you agree with that proposition?
Yes.
So that, looking back on it now, can you see that taking the abuser to somebody's home is totally inappropriate?
Yes.
You is it the case, sir, that the thrust of inquiry in relation to somebody being involved in wrongdoing is to protect the congregation?
Yes.
So that, in the sense, and excuse me a moment, if we could go to tab 84 and reference 0309. Which is at page 29, the second column. If I could refer you to the second column at about point 7 down the page, the sentence commencing, "It is not his status as an authority figure." Can you see that there? In the second column.
No, not yet.
So I understand it to be, I'm sorry, Your Honour, I hope I haven't got the wrong tab. Tab 84. Excuse me a moment. Oh, I beg your pardon. Maybe I could, it's the "let us abhor what is wicked." Your Honour, I beg your pardon. So certainly 85, thank you, Councillors. Tab 85, thank you. Page 29, or in the top right-hand column, 0309, top right-hand of the page. If you could go to the second column, about point 7 down that, you see the sentence commencing, "It is not his status as an authority figure." Can you see that, sir?
Not yet. Oh, yes. Yep.
It is not his status as an authority figure that should be of concern, but rather the unblemished purity of the congregation.
Yes.
And that was the purpose of your inquiry, wasn't it? To protect the congregation from Bill Neal.
Yeah.
Not to protect BCB.
Well, her included in the congregation. She was part of the congregation.
As a victim
Yes.
of abuse, she wasn't protected, but as a member of the congregation, you were seeking to protect her. Is that right?
As well, yes.
You indicate that you did not speak harshly to BCB when you were being asked questions by a counsellor assisting you. He put to you that you should treat victims they should be treated with kindness. You agreed with that and indicated that you didn't speak harshly with her. Do you agree, though, that when a young woman has made allegations of sexual impropriety against an elder, that taking that elder to her is harsh treatment of her?
I can understand how she would view it that way, yes. And
well, do you?
on the surface, if I try to put myself in her position, yes, I'd feel exactly the same.
Certainly, it's the case now, isn't it, that I'll withdraw that. Making this inquiry and going to her and having her face her abuser, or that is the accused face his accuser, was all about disciplining Bill Neal, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And certainly it's the case now that if there is a police inquiry on foot in regards to a matter, that disciplinary proceedings run parallel with that. Do you agree with that?
I don't have any experience with that at this time, so...
In the sense that if there is a police inquiry on foot, certainly members of the church and the congregation are told not to interfere with the police inquiry. Is that right?
I would think that would be reasonable, yes. I don't remember instructions in that way, but it does make sense, yes.
If you were to be confronted with this situation today, what would you do differently to what you did then?
First thing would be to contact the branch for direction, look up any of the relevant information that we've got, the latest information, and proceed following their direction.
Before contacting the branch, what would you do in relation to what you knew of the complaint?
Try and establish the facts.
How would you do that?
Oftentimes, if someone comes to us, we hear the information just on a one-on-one, but I think the indications are that it's better to have two elders there so that we can present that to the branch with the two of us, like on a conference call or something.
Specifically in relation to BCB's situation, what would you do differently today? Or would you conduct yourself in exactly the same way as you did?
No, I wouldn't do the same.
What would you do differently?
Being the only other elder there, and if the circuit overseer wasn't due to visit like that, like he was in that case, I would have called an elder from another congregation and we would have heard her allegations together, and then we would approach the branch for direction.
Would you have a female, a sister involved in relation to talking with the person who was making complaint about sexual impropriety?
That would be up to the person making the accusations, I would think. If she wanted to have someone there as a support, I think that would be the case.
Mr. Fawley, I understand how the church is organised, but what the process means is that the investigation, take a case such as this one, of a woman's allegations is made entirely by men. Correct?
I'm sorry, the
investigation within the church is conducted entirely by men.
That's correct, yes.
You think that's appropriate when the allegation comes from a woman and maybe a young woman?
That's the procedure that we have in place.
No, but I'm asking you a different question.
Well, that sort of comes into my personal feelings. I think I would still have to be bound by what the branch directs me to do.
Secondly, as here, you as an elder were being asked to investigate allegations of a person who you had worked with as an elder.
Yes.
Now, to an outsider, that doesn't seem like a fair process. Do you understand why that is?
Yes, and that's why we would have another elder there. In this case, the circuit overseer visited. He didn't know Bill as well as I did, so he tends to be a little bit more impersonal.
Well, he might, but you're still there.
Yeah.
And you know this elder well and have worked with him.
Yes, and I remember at the time I was very shocked at the treatment or the allegations that were made against him. So to me, he had betrayed me and as much as the congregation, obviously not as much as the person that had the victim in this case, but to me it went against everything that we'd been taught and trained as elders. Bill was a man that I'd known for about 16 years, growing up as a teenager in the congregation, looking to him and respecting him. Then being appointed as an elder myself, being mentored by him in the way that we should treat the flock with tenderness and care, and we're taught to be a hiding place, a refuge, somewhere that they can go and seek help and to really care for their spiritual needs. And now this situation, Bill had completely betrayed all of those things. So it wasn't like I was looking at things from a side, siding with him. I was sticking with the teachings that I'd been trained in, and looking at it impartially and trying to look at it that way.
You ultimately reported that his conduct was the result of accidental touching, didn't you?
That was his.
Well, that's what
his
you
description.
That's what you reported.
Okay.
That's what you found.
Right.
Agreed?
That was, yeah, that's all that he admitted to.
Yes, and that's what your finding was. Now, again, to an outsider, could you see that an outsider may think that when someone who you know well is being investigated by you, that may not be a fair process?
I can understand how they would see that, yes.
Do you think that's a process which the church should change?
I don't know how to comment on that. They may have made changes in that process, not according to the book that we have, but where it says that we contact the branch, then the direction that they give in that instance may give us further bearing on that.
Yes.
Thank you. I won't keep you much longer, Mr. Hawley, but have you come to know about the full extent of BCB's allegation against Bill Neal?
No. I only know what was dealt with at the time.
So you don't know that she, for about 3 or 4 years, was subject to indecent assaults, effectively, where she was tongue-kissed by this elder?
No, I'm not aware of that.
She was on one occasion forced to sit on the bathroom floor, spread her legs and have his finger inserted into her vagina.
No, I'm not aware of that.
So the reason I highlight that is that certainly it's not the sort of thing that... I'll withdraw that. Does that come as a shock to you that she actually endured that? Or experienced that at the hands of Bill Neal?
Yes, it's a shock, yes.
And do you think the fact that it's only coming to light now has something to do with the process that you engaged in when she made initial complaint?
I feel very saddened if that is the case.
It's understandable that it would be. Do you agree with that, in the sense that she's confronted with her abuser and somebody who she would know was close to her abuser, which you've just given that evidence? It's understandable that she wouldn't make full disclosure. That's correct, isn't it?
I can see what you're saying, yes.
She needs a more nurturing and supportive environment in which to make full disclosure, doesn't she?
It would appear that way, yes, from what you're saying.
And what is the church going to do about that? Do you have any thoughts on that going into the future?
I don't have any comments on how they arrive at the decisions that they make. I just follow the procedures that they have there in place. At the time, we did the best that we could with the information that we had. Now, handling the situation again might be completely different.
Thank you. You're on another.
Does anyone else have any questions?
No, Your Honour.
No, Your Honour.
Mr Stewart?
Nothing further, Your Honour.
Yes, thank you, Mr Hawley. You're excused.
The next witness is Mr. Doug Jackson.
Mr Jackson, it's necessary for you to be sworn. Will you take an oath on the Bible or an affirmation?
Oh. Affirmation.
Affirmation.
On the Bible? Yeah.
Well, which one? It's your choice. Which one would you do?
Bible?
The Bible.
Yeah.
Very well. You take that in your hand and repeat after me. I do swear by Almighty God
I do swear by Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give in this Royal Commission
the evidence I'll give in this Royal Commission
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Take a seat, please.
Will you state your full names, Mr. Jackson?
Douglas James Jackson.
And Mr. Jackson, do you have before you a copy of your statement dated 10 July 2015?
I do.
Are there any amendments or corrections you'd like to make to the statement?
I don't think so.
Do you confirm the statement as being true and correct?
I do.
I tender the statement, John.
It'll be Exhibit 29-4.
Mr. Jackson, you were baptised as a Jehovah's Witness in 1963, is that right?
Correct.
And you were appointed as an elder in the Swan Hill congregation in Victoria in 1971.
Correct.
And having been a witness for only 4 years, is that right?
4 years.
You had been
Oh,
when you were first appointed an elder.
no, 1963 I was baptised, 71 an elder.
Yes, so in other words, only 4 years from being baptised to being an elder. I beg your pardon. My arithmetic there, I apologise entirely. You subsequently served as an elder in other congregations in Victoria, South Australia and Western Australia, is that right?
Yes.
And in 1990 you were appointed by the Australia branch to serve as a circuit overseer.
Correct.
What does that entail, Mr. Jackson?
I would visit 20 congregations in a circuit, around 20, could be less, could be more. And it involved having at that time, which is not the case now, 3 meetings, Tuesday, Thursday, and then one on Sunday with the congregation, and also a meeting that was held with the elders and ministerial servants with an outline from the governing body. And we'd share in the ministry as well during that particular week with various ones in the congregation.
And how many congregations would you typically have within your responsibility?
Around 20, but it could be more, could be less, just depends. And that circuit I can't remember now.
And you were the circuit overseer responsible for the Narrogin congregation from 1990 to the end of 1992, is that right?
I don't think it was the end, but it was sometime in 1992 that I changed, but I'm not too sure.
But it's in that period that you had an involvement in the allegations by BCB against Bill Neal, is that right?
Correct.
So it was in that capacity as circuit overseer responsible for, amongst others, the Narrogin congregation.
Correct.
And to your recollection, how big was the Narrogin congregation?
Oh, I'm not too sure, around 80.
And you then served as circuit overseer until 1998, is that right?
That's correct.
And
Not on that circuit, though.
Yes, and then as district overseer until 2014.
Correct.
And what is the role of a district overseer?
District overseer is mainly looking after what we used to call circuit assemblies on weekends, which were 2 days, and they took up the majority of our time, plus we'd share in the ministry with the circuit overseer as well. Basically, it was giving talks at these circuit assemblies.
And do you hold any position of responsibility in the church currently?
Only serving as an elder.
In which congregation is that?
Windsor Gardens in South Australia.
Now, in your statement, paragraph 2.2, we can call that up. You say that from the 1990s, I recall that matters of child sexual abuse began to be dealt with as a special category, and elders were directed to report any such complaints or allegations immediately to the branch office and to follow their direction in regard to reporting the matter to the authorities. Do you know what brought about that change?
I don't know for sure. I would say it was because of the situation of child abuse starting to be increased and these matters being brought to the fore.
And was it that the particular issue was about getting direction with regard to reporting the matters to the authorities, or was it handling it more generally?
At that time, there was information relating to reporting the matter to the authorities, but that was brought about later on in the 90s and into the 2000s.
And in paragraph 4.1 of your statement,
I don't seem to have that. Oh, sorry.
do you have that? It should also be on the screen in front of you.
Oh, great.
You say that BCB's case is the only case involving child sexual abuse in which I've ever been involved. The records available to the Royal Commission suggest that there has been another case. You're going to be shown a name. I'm not wanting you to say the name out aloud because I'd rather keep it confidential, but it's to see whether that perhaps jogs your memory as to another case that you were involved in.
No, sorry.
Doesn't jog your memory? So as far as you can remember sitting there now, there was just this one case of child sexual abuse in your years that you had to deal with.
Yeah.
You were the circuit overseer, and in that capacity you were told by Max Hawley about the allegations against Bill Neal, is that right?
Correct.
And Hawley and Neal were the two elders of that congregation at that time, the only two elders, is that right?
As far as I can remember, yeah, I think that was the case, yes.
Yes, because Frank Shaylor had retired and moved back to Perth, as evidence we've heard from Mr. Hawley.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what do you recall Mr. Hawley telling you?
Well, as far as I know, is that he approached me and mentioned to me regarding the allegations that have been made, and that and then we decided that we're going to investigate it more.
And what were the allegations?
Well, I was under the impression that it was just that Bill Neal had been watching BCB in the shower. And also, too, I think it was mentioning the touching of the breast once.
So that's what the most you can remember of what Max Hawley told you when he informed you about this matter?
I think that was the case, yes.
And at the stage that he informed you, what did he tell you that he had done about it up until then?
I would say that he would have investigated, but I can't remember exactly what he said.
Did he tell you whether he had met with BCB and or with Mr. Neil?
I would say that he would have met with both, yes, but I can't remember if he told me that.
And then, as I understand it, you and he resolved to investigate the matter together, is that right?
Correct.
And what did you do in order to investigate it?
Well, we had meetings with BCB and with Mr. Neil, and also others knew about it, and we also got some information from them as well within the congregation. Can't remember how many, but I know that possibly there was a few others as well.
And do you remember what information they were able to give you?
I cannot remember that, no, just the allegations that had been made regarding the watching of the shower. I don't know if it dealt with the touching of the breast or any other activity at all by him.
Because there was no one else who was a witness to these events, was there?
No.
And so you say you met with BCB and with Bill Neal. That was in a common meeting, is that right?
I can't recall whether it was, first of all, just in a common meeting or whether we met separately with BCB and also with Bill Neal. And then even collectively, I'm not sure.
And BCB says that she was unaware of the purpose of the meetings that she was attending, or what role those meetings were playing. Do you accept that?
No, I don't, because we would have told her why we were meeting because of her concern of what was happening.
Well, I'll come back to the question of what you would have told her, but dealing first with the question of what you actually remember. Do you remember anything that you did tell her? Or was it too long ago?
No, I'm sorry.
So then reverting to the less safe ground, as it were, what do you say you would have told her?
How do you mean? What would I say?
Well, you started saying earlier, I would have told her about something about what the meeting was about. Now I'm
Well, just said...
You and I must try not to speak at the same time,
Sorry.
Mr. Jackson. So what is it that you think you would have told her in explaining what the meeting or meetings were about?
Well, about the allegations that she had made against Bill Neal.
That you were investigating them?
Yeah.
Yes. And more than that?
Possibly we would have told her, asked her whether these were true, the watching of the shower and the touching of the breast as well. That would be, I'd say that's what I would have said the meeting was about.
Now, you'd appreciate that in what you were doing was part of a process which is set out in the church's documents and protocols, is that right?
You're correct, yes.
And you and Mr. Hawley were doing an investigation to see whether there was sufficient evidence to establish these allegations as true, which would, had they been established, would have led to a judicial committee, is that right?
Yes, that's true.
And you were experienced in those matters, those procedural matters?
Well, it was the first situation that I've ever had where I was dealing with that type of thing.
Well, specifically child sexual abuse?
Yeah.
But you'd had other investigations in relation
Yes.
to other serious allegations of one form or another, I take it?
Yes. Yes. But nothing like that.
Perhaps adultery?
Yes.
Or lying?
Yeah, not lying, but adultery, yes.
And various other. So you were familiar with the procedure you were embarking on?
Yeah.
And you understand that BCB would not have been familiar with that procedure?
Oh, correct.
So she would have these two men, you and Mr. Hawley, asking her questions, but not knowing how that fitted into an overall procedure.
That's correct, although in the publications with situations like that or adultery lying, there is mention, even back then in the 90s, of the procedures. So the publications did have a bit of information regarding what would happen.
Well, the publication you're referring to is the publication which is for elders, the Elders Handbook, isn't it?
I know there's information in the watchtowers and the awake relating to that. Even with child abuse, there's information there.
Well, specifically, I'm addressing the procedures to be followed.
Oh, right, sorry.
Because what BCB says is she didn't know what these meetings were about or how they fitted into any overall procedure. And you would accept that she wouldn't know that.
Well, as far as I can recall, maybe she didn't. But I thought we would have explained it to her.
Well, all you've said you would have explained is that you're investigating her allegations and asking
Yes.
whether they're true.
Yes.
And she'd be left in the relative dark as to how that fitted into whether there might then be a judicial committee, what might happen thereafter, what
Yes.
evidence would be sufficient, what evidence would not be sufficient. Do you agree?
Yes, correct.
And you see that would leave her in a position of vulnerability and perhaps confusion.
Yes, I do now, yes.
And so you would accept that in investigative procedures such as this, an important component to support someone who's making allegations of abuse is to fully appraise them of the procedure and what's happening so they feel comfortable in it.
Yes, and I think that's what we've been trained to do more so in these later years.
Now, I withdraw that. So, Mr. Jackson, back to the particular meetings that you had, do I understand you to say you're not sure whether there was a meeting that had BCB and Mr. Neil in it at the same time? Or do you accept that there was such a meeting?
I cannot recall it, but I'd say yes, there was.
Yes, but that would be the normal procedure at
Yes,
that time,
yes.
wouldn't it?
Yes.
And would that be the normal procedure even today? In other words, that someone who is making serious allegations against someone must be prepared to make them in their presence?
Well, now it's a matter of, first of all, hearing both sides separately and then maybe trying to get them together to see if it's correct or not.
Well, even hearing them separately, if you then decided as part of that preliminary investigation that there was sufficient evidence and to convene a judicial committee, you would then have to put them together, is that right? In other words, the witnesses, including the abused, would have to speak in the presence of the accused.
Well, yes, but not necessarily always the case. It could be that, there was convincing evidence from others as well. Yes, you put them under pressure if you put them both together.
Yes, well, that's my point. So you say if there were two other witnesses of the incident, not the person who's abused, and the perpetrator hasn't admitted or confessed, you've got two other witnesses. In that situation, you may not have to have the person who suffered the abuse giving evidence in the presence of the accused, is that right? But where there isn't that situation, where there aren't two independent witnesses, then she would have to. She would have to give evidence in the presence of the accused.
Yes, I just can't remember whether we did or whether we didn't under those circumstances.
Well, you didn't, to be fair, and what you were doing, you hadn't reached judicial committee stage and you never did, is that right? But talking generally now, even the present position is that if a judicial committee is formed, leaving aside the situation where one has at least two other independent witnesses, the victim of the abuse would have to bear witness or give evidence in the face of the accused. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
And that's set out in the Shepherd the Flock of God
Yes.
handbook, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you yourself, I think, accepted a moment ago that puts a lot of strain and pressure on the person who suffered, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, and that's where even now we're encouraged, if there's some type of support. For example, in child abuse, maybe the parents, the husband or wife, or other supports, maybe a close friend. That just depends on the circumstances.
Jackson, do you have any knowledge of the developments in the investigation and trial of sexual assault matters in the ordinary courts?
No, sorry, I don't, Your Honour.
You don't know anything about the research which has led to changes in process so that victims don't have to face the alleged abuser in the course of the trial?
I don't, but I'd say that's why our organisation has changed, where it's not necessarily doing that anymore, and that we do have a support with us if required.
It's not a question of support, it's a question of the traumatic circumstance for a victim in having
Yes.
to confront
Yes.
their alleged abuser. You understand?
Yes.
You say that that's now understood by your church?
I'd say it would be, yes.
When you say it would be, can you point to anything that confirms that it is understood?
Well, offhand, no, I can't, sorry. But I'd say the way that now we are dealing with matters, that we must be taking that into consideration.
Perhaps you can explain it to me, how you're dealing with matters that suggest
Well,
taking that into consideration.
In a situation of child abuse, then one, we'd have some type of support there, maybe from, not maybe, but from those sources, either friend, parents, husband, wives, and maybe we don't, because I haven't been involved with it, maybe we don't directly have that one-on-one where we used to many times. If it was just one-on-one basis of one accusation against the other.
I'm not sure I'm understanding, but the civil courts have come to understand that the trauma that can be involved for a victim in having to face-to-face contact with the alleged abuser can be a very traumatic experience.
Yes.
Does your church understand that?
I would say yes, they do now, yeah.
How would it be accommodated then if the investigation is in relation to an allegation by a woman that she was abused by a man in the church?
Well, first of all, we would, maybe two would listen to her and get some comments from her about the allegation, and then we would see the person separately and talk to that individual.
And then what would you do after that?
Well, we'd contact the branch if we felt there was those allegations were correct and were truthful, and follow the procedures. So they're talking to the legal side of the branch, and then take the procedure or take the information from them that they would give us.
When you say you'd take those steps if you thought the allegation was truthful, if you just have an interview with a female complainant who says she's the victim, and then follow that with an interview with the alleged abuser, would that be sufficient for you to be able to determine that the allegation was truthful?
Yes, it would.
So you wouldn't need a second witness?
Not necessarily under those circumstances like that.
So is that a significant change from some years ago?
Very significant, yes.
And is that change relevant to sexual assault and other types of misconduct, or only sexual assault?
Well, offhand, I'm not too sure just how to answer that because I'm not aware of it, and I haven't been involved in anything lately. And I'm just not sure the material really has any, that we have, has anything relevant to that.
Yes, Mr. Stewart.
As your honour pleases. Mr. Jackson, you familiar with the manual or guide, Shepherd the Flock of God? Can we have tab 120 on the screen? And particularly at ringtail 90, that's otherwise page 89. Now this has applied since 2010, is that right?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson? And it's essentially a guide to elders, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. And as to how to handle various situations. And you'll see this particular chapter, chapter 7, sets out the judicial hearing procedure. Do you see that?
Yes.
And then towards the foot of that page, you'll see further down, paragraph 2, the chairman should invite the accused to make a personal statement, and then it says, if the accused contends that he is innocent, the witnesses to the wrongdoing should be presented and their testimony be given in the presence of the accused. It is best that the witnesses give their testimony in person. And then there's...
I just haven't got that coming up. I've got 2, but not the rest.
Sorry, the next page, top of the next page. Now, there is the possibility then, it goes on, however, it may be that the witnesses live a great distance away or for some reason are not able to be physically present.
Yes.
If so, their testimony may be presented in the hearing of the accused by a secure phone call or perhaps submitted in writing and read to the accused.
Yes.
So are you saying that that exception might also be used to allow, in cases of child sexual abuse or sexual assault generally, the accuser to not be in the presence of the accused?
Well, here it's dealing with if the person lives a long distance away, but it can still, again, you're looking at the circumstances of the case and just the emotional condition of the person.
I think Mr. Stewart's suggesting to you that that's not to be found in this document.
Oh, I'm using the principle of that, though, just with your question that he's...
I think he's putting to you that the principle's not there either.
No. Okay, so maybe then it doesn't apply.
Well, he'd like to know what the true position
Well,
is.
this is the position here where it says, however it may be that the witness live a great distance away or for some reason are not able to be physically present. So that's, I can't go beyond that. But sometimes situations arise where, you know, the emotional state of the person, we try to help them as much as we can.
This document proceeds, you'll see in the previous page, I think it is, the starting point for the judicial hearing procedure is to try to put the accused at ease. See that?
Yep, I do, thank you.
And then in the first paragraph, those words are placed in heavy type. You see that?
Yes.
There's no mention there or anywhere of how you manage the victim, is there? Or the accuser.
No, but we have had watchtowers that relate to how we need to be very conscious of the person as well. And as regards to the way that they're going through what they're going through, the emotional state.
Well, you mean that the person who brings the allegation may be suffering considerable stress as well?
Oh, sorry, no, I thought you meant the person. Yeah.
My question is directed to, there doesn't seem to be any acknowledgement that the person who brings the allegation may be suffering stress and need assistance. You see that?
Yes, yes. Yeah. Well, that's correct.
Can you help me with why that's not there?
No, I can't, sorry. No.
Mr. Stewart, I think we'll come back in the morning now.
Well, Your Honour, I just had one question about this page that's open, if I might, but I'm in your Honour's hands. That page 90, ringtail 91. Just on this question, you see paragraph 3 there. Just on this question of observers, I understood you to say that your understanding is the present position is that observers can be present to give moral support, but you'll see there this document says expressly observers should not be present for moral support. Do you see that?
Yes, yeah. Yes, but...
And this is the guide you have to follow, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But again, there have been information as regards to situations where, for example, parents, if they've been asked, they can go there through letters that we've had where we've been told that if, you know, it is a minor, parents can be there, husband or wife. If the guilty party wants to have them there, they can do that. But again, that does say that there. I'm just quoting other information that we've had, for example, letters later than 2010.
Well, we'll come back to that in the morning. We'll adjourn until 10 o'clock.
We'll stand.
I'd like to show you paragraph 57 of BCB's statement. It will come up on the screen. And perhaps you can start with 56. You'll see that BCB here is talking about the meeting that you spoke about yesterday too. And she says she felt uncomfortable. She could not bring herself to tell the elders everything that had happened. She felt like she was still Bill's victim, and she was so scared of saying anything that would get her or Bill into trouble. And then in 57, she says, I remember that at one point in the meeting, Max said to me, is there anything else you wish to tell us? I remember looking across the room at Bill and saying, no. It was already very hard to talk about sex in a room full of men. It was especially hard to talk about what Bill had done to me while he was sitting there in front of me. I didn't feel like it was a safe environment, and I was scared of what the consequences would be if I told the whole truth. Perhaps if a sister who I was comfortable with had been there too, it might have been easier. Mr. Jackson, I take it you accept that it was very hard for BCB to talk about sex in a room full of men.
I do, yes.
And it was hard for her to talk in front of Bill, Bill Neal, that is, who was her abuser.
Yes, I'd say that, as she said, that it would have been very hard.
And that it did not feel like a safe environment for her.
Yes, I don't know why she would have felt that, because we tried to comfort her. I just can't remember the scriptures that we used and the way that we spoke, but I would say that we tried to comfort her and to help her.
But you appreciate how, whatever you might have said, it couldn't have been enough in those circumstances.
I'd say that's correct, yes.
In circumstances where she has to face a number of men who are her elders in the church,
Yes.
so, including one of whom is the person whom she accuses of having abused her,
Yes, yes,
and she has to face him.
yes, yes.
And then she says, as you saw, that perhaps if a sister who she was comfortable with had been there, it might have been easier. And you suggested yesterday there might be space for that, and we started a discussion about that. And I'd like to take you back to what I showed you just before we finished yesterday, which is in, it's a tab 120, page 90, or ringtail 91 of that document, paragraph 3. So now this document, you'll recall, is the shepherd the flock of God. And of course it's the position now, not back then, but I'm content to discuss what the position is now. And as I showed you yesterday, you see it says that in a judicial hearing procedure, observers should not be present for moral support. And you answered yesterday that you thought that if the accused, not the accuser, but the accused wanted moral support, there may be space for that. But you'll accept that under this, there's no space for the accuser to have someone present for moral support.
In that particular paragraph, it demonstrates that or mentions that, but I think in the publication around chapter 12, it does talk about that we need to take into consideration the person and that we would, really try to help them. And if need be now, certainly have someone there to help. I think it was paragraph 18 and 19, I think.
So that's at ringtail 132. See this dealing specifically with child abuse, and there the paragraphs 18 and 19 are.
Yes, it must have been another one, but I know that if need be, then we certainly can have, they can have, the one that is being abused, they can have someone there, whether a friend, parents, ones of their choice, to make them feel comfortable.
Well, it's not in those paragraphs 18 and 19, you accept that? You accept that?
Oh, yes, sorry, yes, I thought it was there, but it's...
And it would be against the paragraph 3 we were looking at earlier, insofar as the
Yes.
judicial hearing is concerned, not so.
Yes, yes, sorry.
These guidelines are published by Bethel in Brooklyn.
Yes,
That's right.
yes,
So where it says in paragraph 18 on the screen now, in the last sentence, the branch office will then give direction based on the circumstances involved in each situation. Would it
yes,
be your understanding that that's direction within what these rules allow?
yes, and
In other words, the branch office wouldn't have authority to override these rules, which are published and distributed from New York.
no, but they could include saying that we should give the support, as much support to the victim as possible.
Yes. Now, what about if it's if the complainant is a child still at the time that she's complaining, that she raises the allegation? How do you deal with that?
In the case 10, just trying to think of the chapter, whether it's... but there's, again, just the support if it's a child and the parents would be permitted to come there. Unless, of course, the one is an accuser. It's a little bit different. But again, we try to give them as much support as we can to help them.
Well, Mr. Jackson, you and other overseers and elders have given evidence or have in their statements that you receive training from time to time. Is that right? And does that training ever cover how you should deal with children who are making complaints of child sexual abuse?
I cannot remember exactly when, but I'd say yes, that it does deal with that, and appreciating that every situation is different, the way that it would be handled. Well,
what training specifically on, for example, how to interview a child complainant?
We, of course, try to be as kind and considerate, thinking of Bible principles involved, how we can be a support to these ones. Again, looking to the publications as well.
You accept that it's a specialist area of how to respond to children making allegations of abuse?
Yes, we do, and we certainly appreciate that. And even after, we don't discourage if the parents or the individual wants to seek other help through individuals or through, depending on the circumstances, qualified people.
So,
psychiatrists or counsellors.
And insofar as the interviewing itself is concerned, you wouldn't, though, be able to give up your role as an elder in conducting an interview to a professional outside of the church, would you?
Do you mean being involved in the meeting?
Yes, interviewing the child.
No, that's true. We don't, no. But we try to give them as much as support as we can, as we said, as I've said, either through an individual who they feel comfortable with. But when the situation is dealt with, we certainly, don't encourage them, but we say to them if they want to, they can, go to counsellors, psychiatric help, or within the congregation there may be someone that can give them definite help.
We can look at tab 126, starting on the first page. If you can make it bigger. So you'll see that this is from World Headquarters in August 2013, and it's to branch committees, and it's guidelines for branch office service desks. In other words, how branch officers should respond. And then attached to the letter is some guidelines for branch office service desks. Is this a document you've seen before? It wouldn't typically go to you because you've not served in a branch office, have you?
No.
In any event, let me take you, you'll see there the guidelines are, but in particular to page 9. Ringtail 84, question 14. When should elders interview a young child who is a victim of child abuse? That's the question put, as it were, to the service desk. And as I read the document, this is what the direction to the service desk is. When elders call the branch office regarding a child abuse matter, they may ask about the need to interview the victim. In such cases, help the elders to balance the need to investigate the dangers of inadvertently further traumatizing a young child abuse victim. For example, has the accused already confessed to the wrongdoing? Is there more than one accuser, and thereby already sufficient evidence to handle the matter judicially? In such cases, there is likely no need to interview the young child. Still nothing there about being able to get a trained professional to do the interview or to assist.
No, that's why I said generally it's after that we encourage them if need be. But if they do want support during the meeting, then either the parents or somebody else that they feel comfortable with.
Now, returning to the direction in Shepherd the Flock that we were looking at earlier, which says that observers should not be present for moral support. Can you conceive of what the justification can be for that direction?
For moral support?
Yeah, that an observer should not be present for moral support?
No, I can't. And that's why I thought in other chapters of the book, but I just can't recall them. I thought that one was in chapter 12 that I just quoted, but it's not 18 and 19. But I find that, well, I don't find, but with the letters that we have in the publications, we certainly do try to make the person feel at ease so they feel free to be able to express themselves.
Because so long as that
But
rule
the,
is...
the problem, Mr. Jackson, is really not addressed in that way, though, is it? The problem is the whole structure of the arrangement with two male elders, a male accused, and then a female in an environment in which she could never feel comfortable being asked to tell intimate details of a sexual nature. The structure doesn't work, does it?
Well, I agree, Your Honour, I certainly do.
What can the church then do about changing the structure?
Well, maybe after hearings like this, where it's been brought to the fore, I just feel that over a period of time, only through matters of letters and that I've read, that it does indicate that other persons for support are able to help them through.
But even support's not going to help, given the structure of the whole arrangement. Yeah.
Well, maybe, as I said, after meetings like this, hearings like this, there could be a structure change. I'm not in that position to say, but it could be.
Well, how would structure change occur?
Well, I guess just what you're saying, with the individual...
How would it be initiated inside the church? How does the church make the changes that are necessary?
Oh, well, it would go through the governing body, or suggestions would be to the governing body, and then...
Which is in America, is it?
Yeah, but in turn it could go through the branch here with suggestions.
And do people like you take forward suggestions to the branch here?
Well, I haven't.
Do they? I mean, is that
yes,
I
they
don't know
do.
how the system works.
Yeah, sure, they do.
What's the process?
Yeah, no, they do. They make recommendations, and these recommendations go to the branch of the governing body, and then situations can change in those areas if the governing body decides to do that. But we can make anyone is free to write and make these recommendations, Your Honour.
Mr. Jackson, in your statement, you say that the complaint that was made when you were there investigating it, the complaint that was made involved BCB discovering Bill Neal looking at her as she was taking a shower, which Neal admitted to, you recall that, and BCB complained that Neal had touched her breasts from the outside of the night clothing when kissing her goodnight. But he said that if that had occurred, it was inadvertent. Do you remember that? I just remember the
Bill Neal looking at her in the shower and the comment made on the touching of the breasts.
You don't remember the complaint about repeated tongue kissing over a period of time?
No.
You don't remember that?
No. And to me, I don't know if it was even raised.
Let me look at tab 70. Just scroll down so, Mr. Jackson, you can see this. Do you recognise that this is your report to the branch following your investigation with Mr. Hawley?
Oh, yes, yes.
Now, I understand you wrote this letter, is that right?
I did, yes, with comments from Brother Hawley, or Max Hawley.
And if we see at the end, both you and Mr. Hawley signed it.
Yes, correct.
Now, did you write this letter from any notes you had taken during the course of your interviews or investigation?
I would have taken, yes, and some of those notes, but also discussing it with Max Hawley as well, what the contents of the letter.
So you took notes during the interviews? As to what
I think we both did. As far as I can remember, I think we both took some notes.
As to what the complaints were?
Yeah.
And presumably what the responses were?
Correct.
Yeah. And where are those notes now?
Well, I don't have them. I don't know whether they were kept in the congregation file or...
Well, you were the circuit overseer at that time. Would your notes have ordinarily gone into the congregation file?
Normally, if I was serving that congregation, would have gone there. The only letter would have been this to the branch. But I really can't remember. I know I never took notes, not only from this situation, but anything else that I dealt with that went to the congregation. Sometimes there may be matters that I passed on if another circuit overseer followed me or took over the circuit that I was doing. But I cannot remember with regards to that, and I would say that possibly it was just left with the congregation.
See, the Royal Commission subpoenaed and received documents from the congregation files, but there are no notes there.
Yeah, well,
you explain that?
I cannot, no.
Is it really, are you saying, Mr. Jackson, that your ordinary practice was that the overseer's notes would go into the congregation file?
Yes, and information as this letter would go to the branch. I don't think anything went to the branch other than that letter.
Now, you see in this letter on the first page, where you report to the branch, you say we're writing in reply to another letter, and you say I investigated the matter further with the other elder, and then you set out some aspects of the investigation in the first paragraph. And then in the second paragraph, you say we also spoke to other brothers and sisters in the congregation and knew about the matter through another sister who had spread the story after being told about it. And you go on dealing with that about other people knowing. And then if we go to the next paragraph, you say that after interviewing the brothers and sisters and reviewing the scriptures, and you identify them, we felt that uncleanness had been committed on several occasions, but it was not loose conduct. And we felt that Brother Neil could not speak with confidence and so on. You see, you don't identify in that letter at all what the actual allegations were.
Well, that's true, yes. In hindsight, I'd say that we should have done that, and
You see, both Mr. Hawley and BCB say that there were also allegations made with regard to tongue kissing in the meeting that you were at, and I take it you don't contest that, you just say you don't remember it.
I don't remember it. I didn't think it was, but I don't remember.
And so what was the uncleanness that you identify in that letter?
Well, the matter of the Bill Neal watching her in the shower and the touching of the breast.
Now, this report to the branch, is that a requirement that you report to the branch when an elder is removed or deleted from being an elder?
Yes, yes. Because the appointments back then came through the branch.
The appointments of elders.
And recommendation deletions, yes.
And that's still the case, though, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you say there that unfortunately there may be worldly people who also know, but we are not sure. In respect of people knowing, why is it that you drew the distinction between worldly people and people within the congregation? What's the relevance of that?
It was mainly just to show how far it had got, and therefore his qualifications, how far the information about Bill Neal had got, not just in the congregation but was outside, and therefore his qualifications came into question because of that and because of ones in the congregation and because of what actually happened.
And was the disqualification because he couldn't be trusted with young girls?
Well, in this particular case, yes.
Well, that isn't what you say in the letter. The disqualification is that he couldn't speak freely. He didn't have freedom of speech.
Sorry, yes.
Well, that's different, isn't it?
Yes.
You were concerned that he couldn't speak with authority in the congregation because of how people in the congregation might view him.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So the wording, again, would be something that I would consider different.
Mr. Jackson, the letter refers to you feeling that uncleanness had been committed, but not loose conduct. Now, what's the difference?
Uncleanness in the sense of what they actually did, or he did, I should say. Loose conduct is where it's actual intercourse, other inappropriate things that could happen.
So that's referred to as loose conduct?
Well, also in the Bible as immorality, porneia.
Where does the expression loose conduct come from? Is that a Jehovah's Witness expression?
Oh, no, just in that reference material, I'm not sure if it's in there, but I would say that it's an expression that is mentioned in the Bible. Just offhand, I can't remember the scripture, but also to the publications have explained it, and even going into more detail in later publications, just explaining it.
If a man deliberately touched the breast of a girl, how would that be classified?
Deliberately?
Yes.
I would say as uncleanness. Yeah.
And if a man deliberately touched the breast of a girl on more than one occasion, how would that be described?
Well, you're getting into the area of loose conduct.
Well, in this letter you say that uncleanness had been committed on several occasions. See that?
Yes.
Now, one can understand an accident, but
Yes.
it's different, isn't it, if you've got several occasions?
Yes. Yes, that's why I say with the wording of it, I would probably word it as different.
Well, if you've got several occasions, you're into the area of finding deliberate conduct, don't you? Well, does that suggest that the way you classified these events, even on your limited reference to them, was wrong?
At the time, I would say that I felt that it was, or we felt that it was correct, but I can also see what you're saying now, and also too with additional information that we've received over the years that it certainly could be classified as different.
We'll leave aside the different information over the years. Just looking back on what
Yes.
you knew then, as you recall,
Yes.
is the letter correct?
Well, as I said, it's correct in the sense that with our understanding there, but as you're saying, as it mentions several occasions, then it would come under the field of loose conduct.
Well, it's not my record.
No, I know.
It's your words.
Yes, I know.
Well, is the letter wrong?
Well, I'd say the wording, yes.
Yeah. Now, it might be suggested that the letter's been written in a way which is favourable to Brother Neil and more favourable than, in fact, the facts that you knew meant it should have been.
Because of that comment, or
Because of the finding.
yes. Although I did mention there. I just noticed in the last sentence, he's been given strong counsel, and we feel that no further action or restrictions are needed. So, what we actually discussed with him from the Bible or the publications, I'm not sure. I can't remember, but I can't see how we showed him particular favour.
Well, I think we've agreed that the
Yes.
facts that you had fell into the category of loose conduct.
Yes,
But you didn't make that more serious finding. You'd left it at uncleanness.
yes,
Isn't that
yes.
favourable to him?
Well, again, looking at it, you could say yes, that possibly is the case. But again, just the wording of it, I would have certainly done it different in thinking about it now.
Well, again, it might be suggested that you fell into this form of finding and form of words because you were favourably disposed to Brother Neil, you see.
I don't think I was or we were, but by the wording of it, yes, I can see what you're saying, my Lord.
See, Mr. Jackson, there was only one shower incident that was, or looking over the shower incident that was complained of, wasn't there?
I thought that was the situation, yes.
But there were many instances over a long period of time of tongue kissing.
Well, I was unaware of that. I did not know.
Because by using the word several occasions, it seems that this may be a reference actually to the several occasions of tongue kissing.
Yes. Yes. I cannot say with confidence, but it could have been. But I just cannot recall that was raised.
Now, the classification of these different sins or severity of sinning at that time was, as set out in Pay Attention to Ourselves and to All the Flock. Is that right? That was published in 1991. Is that right?
I think it was, yes.
And that's at tab 80. Perhaps we can look at ringtail 24. It's page 92 of the document. You'll see there under that heading, uphold Jehovah's righteousness. The second bold paragraph says the scriptures clearly show that Jehovah forbids certain conduct among his clean people. Brothers need to uphold Jehovah's righteous standards regarding the following. And then it sets out various categories of transgression. You see that? The first is manslaughter.
Yes.
And then we'll scroll down. And then there's sexual misconduct, including adultery, fornication, and other forms of porneia. And then under that, you'll see there are three subcategories. The first one, you can just scroll up again slightly, is uncleanness. Includes an intentional momentary touching of sexual parts or caressing of breasts.
Yes.
And then if we scroll down, and then loose conduct is a shocking, flagrant disregard for Jehovah's moral standards.
Yes.
And some examples are set out.
Yes.
And then thirdly, porneia involves immoral use of the genitals of at least one human.
Yes.
And then it goes on and sets out examples. So that was the classification you were seeking to employ, is that right?
Yes, yes.
Do you know the origins, Mr. Jackson, of this word porneia?
Just scripturally, from the Greek, deals with, as it mentions there, porneia involves immoral use of the genitals of at least one human. So it involves fornication and other forms of immorality. Also including their oral sex, anal sex and mutual masturbation.
So the word itself, though, you say is Greek origins.
It's the Greek origin.
Now, going back to your letter at tab 70, at the top of the second page, you'll see in the last sentence of that paragraph, you write, also, brothers, I would recommend that once this has died down and it appears that Brother Neil again has the freedom of speech, that he be recommended as an elder again, so that he can be of help in the congregation as he has done in the past. Now, what does freedom of speech there mean to you as you employed it?
Well, freedom of speech is just over a period of time if those that knew about it no longer see it themselves as something that is a terrible thing that disqualifies him as an elder. But looking at that now, I certainly would rewrite that area because even now, one wouldn't be recommended without first of all considering the amount of time or years that had happened, if at all, that he be recommended as an elder or ministerial servant.
So you say that the time period should have to be considered?
Now?
Yes.
Yes, and even then, it wasn't just something that was done within 6 months, but normally it would take a period of time. One of our publications said, I think the wording, many years, and even back then it was recommended that it would be several years to live down that sin that had happened.
Because it's a reputational issue.
Yeah.
It's about Brother Neil's efficacy or potential efficacy as an elder.
Yes.
And the moral authority that he might have in the congregation.
Yes. And even too, taking into consideration that of dealing with the young people. Would he be able to do that again? And, you know, with our recent letters that we've had, it certainly shows that he wouldn't be quickly recommended, if ever.
At the time that you considered what the proper course was in relation to BCB or BCB's complaints, there was no consideration then about his potential reoffending.
No.
Well, shouldn't there have been?
Do you mean for him that we warned him?
Well, no, not that you warned him, that you took steps to protect children in the congregation to ensure that he wouldn't offend against them.
Oh, yes. I just can't recall what we said to him or what happened, but we would have taken steps, that he wouldn't get into that situation again.
Well, insofar as in being reappointed as an elder sometime in the future, your recorded concern here is about his reputation once this matter has died down. You accept that?
Yeah, and as I say, in hindsight, I definitely wouldn't have said that back then.
What you didn't consider is whether, over a passage of time, he could be considered to be safe and trustworthy with children.
Yes, and that would certainly been something now that I would definitely put in a letter.
And you should have considered it then.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Jackson, did you consider at all, when those complaints were made, that the conduct complained of may have amounted to a criminal offence?
No, I did not, no.
Did you consider at all reporting the matter to the police?
No, I did not.
Did you consider at all encouraging BCB to report the matter to the police?
I am not sure if we recommended that to her. As far as I'm aware, all we did was to have those meetings and to write that letter. If the branch wanted that further to happen, I guess they would have written to Max Hawley on it. But I just cannot recall whether we did talk to her about that or whether, I'm just not sure.
In your considerable time and experience as an elder and as circuit and then district overseer, has there ever been a case where you have reported wrongdoing that may have constituted a criminal offence to the police?
Not that I'm aware, because I never really got involved with those cases at all.
So you say you were never involved in a case where, within your responsibilities in the church, where the wrongdoing that was complained of was such that it may have constituted a criminal offence?
Offhand, I cannot recall any situation.
Other than the case of BCB, of course.
Yes.
What is your understanding of when matters should be reported to the police by elders or overseers and when not?
I think the procedure now is that we ring the branch and we tell the person and the legal department, and we tell the one involved about reporting it to the police. I think every state has been different as regards to when this was implemented. I'm not sure. But that's what we've encouraged in the publications.
But if there's no legal obligation to report, then the practice is to not report. Is that how you understand?
For sexual abuse, do you mean?
For any crime?
Oh, no. We'd certainly recommend if a crime has been committed, that it be reported to the police.
Well, what about a crime of sexual abuse? You seem to treat that differently.
And you mean, first of all, ringing the branch and asking for...
Well, whether it should be reported.
I think we have direction that it should be reported.
If there's a legal obligation to
Yes,
report.
yes.
And if there's not a legal obligation to report.
Well, again, if there's any doubts, we are still encouraged to ring the branch legal department just to seek direction from them on what to do.
And you would do as you directed by
And
them.
yeah, but yes, and well, not just one individual, but two individuals doing it.
You mean the two elders?
Yeah.
Now, where do you, in your understanding, where do you expect that line to be drawn as to what is serious enough to be reported to the police and what isn't?
In the matter of crime?
Yes, that's what the police are principally concerned with, crime.
Yeah. Well, apart from child sexual abuse, areas of, say, theft, murder, general crime where they're breaking the law.
But in your, as I understand it, you say that you have never been involved in reporting a matter to the police.
No, that's correct. Yeah.
Those are my questions, Ron.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I do, Your Honour.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Who should go first? Have you talked about?
Probably my friend.
I think so. Yes. Does anyone else have any questions?
No, Your Honour.
Yes. Well, Ms. Gallagher, can you go first?
Oh, I beg your pardon, Your Honour. I thought. Just in reference to tab 70, the letter that you wrote. Sorry, I beg your pardon. My name's Gallagher and I represent BCB.
Yeah.
If you, tab 70 could be called up, please. Can you just clarify, Mr. Jackson, the second paragraph there, where you indicate, I investigated the matter further with the other elder in the Narrogin congregation, Brother Max Hawley. You indicate and spoke to the sister involved and her husband and also other brothers and sisters in the congregation. We gave counsel to both the husband and the wife about going to the elders and setting the matter straight with Jehovah. Could I clarify with you who you are talking about when you say, first of all, I spoke to the sister? Was that BCB? Is that who you're referring to?
So we're talking about the sister involved and her husband?
Yeah, so is that BCB and BCC?
I'd say so, yes.
All right, and then when you talk about we gave counsel to both the husband and wife about going to the elders and setting the matter straight with Jehovah, which husband and wife are you talking about there? Are you talking about Mr. and Mrs. Neal or BCB and BCC?
I would say, I was unsure she was married then, but I would say that would be to be CD and her husband.
What did they have to set straight with Jehovah?
Well, it wasn't that. I think it was keeping in mind that scriptural principle of James was really just going to the elders to try and get help from the elders, because I think it had been spread. Now, I'm not saying by them, but by somebody. I can't remember who it was. where other people started to know about it.
Was there an element then of her being chastised for spreading something that could
No,
affect the congregation,
no,
the reputation of Jehovah?
no. Even the word counsel, again, I wouldn't use that word again.
But you did, and you said
Yeah.
you've given evidence that you didn't keep any notes about conversations. That's right, isn't it?
Yes.
So this is our best record. You agree with that?
Yes.
And it's dated around the time, obviously 1992, around the time that you spoke with BCB and BCC.
Yes.
What do you think you might have meant then, if I could just, before leaving this topic, what do you mean by setting the matter straight with Jehovah?
Well, just going to see what is, how they could be helped or encouraged.
And you didn't mention going to the police for help and encouragement in reporting?
No, that's correct. Yeah.
You indicate further, the next sentence is then showed that after we had done this, that if we repented, Jehovah would forgive us. An element there of these two, if it was reference to BCC and BCB, that they were, the two of them actually, being chastised.
Yes, I would say though that referring it to with BCD, it was more to Bill Neal than to her, that he needed to turn around and change.
So you would deny that there was any element of her and BCB and BCC, her husband, in any way being chastised for telling others about this conduct?
I don't think we would have chastised them, but we would have encouraged them to try and settle the matter within, talking to the elder back there, who is Max Hawley, and try to do what we were doing here as two of us.
Yes. If you go to the second page of tab 70, the top right-hand reference is 0505. Could I just clarify, you note in the middle of that paragraph, well, before I ask that question, this paragraph really is very sympathetic to Mr. Neal, or Brother Neal, isn't it?
Yes.
Indicating from the previous page that his accepted counsel and his you were impressed by his humility throughout the ordeal.
Yes. Yeah.
So he was treated, it seems, from this letter with kindness and sympathy, correct?
Yes, because we try to do that as well as to the guilty, to help them. Yeah.
You indicate that in that paragraph, if I could take you to the sentence, now that it is all in the open and discipline has been applied and accepted, he feels much better about his relationship with Jehovah. Do you accept that everybody, including members of the Jehovah's Witness, are subject to the discipline of the state?
How do you mean? Sorry.
Well, the church had disciplined him.
Yes.
But do you accept that, and I think when being asked questions by counsel assisting, your reference to several occasions on the previous page may indeed have been a reference to something you don't recall now, but the kissing with the tongue. Several, of course, indicates that it was more than once, more than 3 times. It's hard to calculate how many Do you agree with that proposition?
Yes, yes.
So that as a child, this girl appears BCB. Of course, she was a young woman when you interviewed her, but she appears to have been subject to several, multiple even, indecent assaults. Do you agree with that proposition?
Yes.
Do you understand what an indecent assault is?
Well, from my recollection, I don't know what the law is, but I'd say that it deals with things such as this type of thing that happened to
Yes,
PCD.
Sorry, an invasion of somebody's space. In fact, their person, coupled with,
Yes.
that's the assault, coupled with an
Yes.
act of indecency,
Yes.
which would, of course, be the insertion of the tongue in the mouth. Now, do you understand, do you have an appreciation that if this matter had been reported to the police before this young one was confronted with her abuser, as occurred, you accept that, correct?
Yes.
Do you accept that if Mr. Neal had been charged, or are you aware of this, that if he had been charged with multiple counts of indecent assault, just say, do you have an appreciation that he probably would have received bail to stay away from BCB?
At that time, no.
Do you understand also that he would have had to stay away from her? Sorry, I'll withdraw that. He and anyone associated with him would have had to have
Yes.
stayed away from her. Do you have an appreciation that that's what would have happened?
Yes.
If this matter had likely
Yes.
happened?
Yes. Yes, and our publications have certainly stressed that over these years.
Do you have an appreciation also that if the matter had gone to hearing, that BCB would not have had to face her accuser, sorry, I beg your pardon, her abuser even then? Because, if I might,
Sorry.
there are facilities available for victims of sexual offences, sexual assaults to give evidence from remote locations.
Yes, that I do know now. Then, no, I did not know.
Of course, so you'd agree, given that sort of the care with which the state deals with these sorts of allegations, that greater care should have been given by members of the faith. Do you agree with that? In how you treated, I beg your pardon, how you treated BCB?
Sure. Yes. Yes, I do believe that it's a situation. And I feel that, we really did, while I was there for those 6 days, we did try to help her, encourage her.
Can I interject there? I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
You didn't, did you? You didn't encourage her to go to the police, did you?
Well, that's true. Yeah, I didn't do that, but I'm saying that we still tried to help her.
Mr. Jackson, it's plain from her evidence that she was very severely affected by these events. You agree?
I would say yes.
It's also plain that the process that you engaged in inflicted further trauma on her. Do you understand that?
I understand it, but at the time, I don't think I appreciated it to that degree.
There's no reference in this letter for any concern for her or her welfare or what Jehovah's Witness might do to help her, is there?
I thought there were some publications that we quoted and scriptures that we would have used to help her in the letter, I thought.
But it's clear that she needed psychiatric help.
Well, if she felt that and we felt that, then we certainly, well, she would question us on it, we certainly would have recommended it.
Did it occur to you at the time that she may need help from medical professionals?
I'd say no.
Well, you know now that she has done and does need it. Is Jehovah's Witness prepared to help her to receive it?
I would say they certainly would, They would be conscious of spending time with her, and they would also recommend her seeking medical help.
Would they be prepared to pay for it?
Well, I don't think I could answer that question.
Why not?
They'd have to write to the branch or the governing body just to seek out that.
It's not an automatic matter, is it? If someone's damaged by the actions of an elder.
Not that I'm
church,
aware of, no, sorry.
Do you think that the church should provide funds to help her with her medical care?
Well, I guess it would be something for them to consider, but...
Now, what about you? Do you think the church should?
Well, I think we give a lot of assistance to them. I think it's an area that I really haven't thought about and would like to say. I think financial assistance is a big thing that maybe, they could be thinking about, but I wouldn't make that statement that they would do it or wouldn't do it.
What would you recommend if you were asked your opinion as to whether they should give her financial support for medical care?
I think it could be considered.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, I just want to clarify.
You need to identify yourself because there's people watching this on the screen.
Oh, certainly. My name is Colin.
And you appear for?
And I appear for you, amongst others. So, Ms. Gallagher was just asking you questions about tab 70, which was your letter. And particularly, if that could be brought up again, please. At paragraph 2, you're asked in relation to where you have written, we gave counsel to both the husband and wife about going to the elders and setting the matter straight with Jehovah. You're asked whether that referred to BCB and BCC being her husband or referred to Neil's, correct?
Yes.
After you've said that, it quotes James 5:13 to 15. Is that in relation to what you've just said before that?
Yes, it encourages ones who have been damaged in some way just to go and try and talk to the elders so the elders can help them and encourage them.
Okay, thank you. Yesterday you were asked questions about how BCB would have been aware of the process of how complaints were dealt with, correct?
Yes.
When a member of the congregation is approaching baptism, are they given a book to study?
Yes, it's entitled Organised for the Ministry, I think.
And that book contains various questions relating to the baptism.
Yes.
And that is a book that those people are expected to be conversant with.
Yes.
And that is a book that they are expected to also consult throughout their lives in relation to matters relating to their faith.
Correct, yes.
If we could bring up tab 109, please. You able to identify that as, is that the book?
Yes, organised to do Jehovah's will.
And that is the book that people get when they're approaching
Yes.
baptism. If we go to ringtail 88, please. And you see that heading, handling cases of serious wrongdoing.
Yes.
So this is something that would be contained in the book that each and every Jehovah's Witness should have when they're approaching baptism.
That's correct.
And should be aware of.
Should be, yes.
Okay. Moving on from that document, You also asked yesterday various questions about the procedures by which investigation took place, and you were shown various sections from the Book of Elders.
Correct.
And one of your responses was that you would refer to the Book of Elders, but you would also look to letters and publications, correct?
Correct.
And you've said that again today. If we could go to tab 124, please. I might have to... Can we make that smaller so that you can see more of it, please? Okay. Is that one of the letters to which you refer?
It is, yes.
And that one is dated October the 1st, 2012.
Correct.
It's addressed to all bodies of elders.
Yes.
And it says there in the first paragraph that it replaces... Sorry. The letter updates the letters to all bodies of elders regarding child abuse dated August the 1st, 1995, March the 14th, 1997, July the 20th, 1998, April the 1st, 2004, and June the 5th, 2006, and May the 24th, 2010. Correct?
Yes, correct.
It also asks that all those previous letters be removed from the
Yes.
congregational permanent file. So this, as of the 1st of October 2012, really was the document that you would refer to for matters after that date. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
And the contents of that letter related to legal concerns regarding accusations of child abuse. You have
Yes.
a verbal answer.
Yes.
Congregational concerns regarding accusations of child sexual abuse. That's the second point under the table of contents. Right at the top.
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's right at the top of the document. See that?
Yes, congregational concerns regarding accusations of child sexual abuse, yes.
Helping victims of child sexual abuse
Yes.
and restrictions and privileges.
Yes.
So is that, when you were talking about referring to letters, was
That's
that
correct.
this document amongst others?
Yes.
You spoke about also referring to publications. When you say that, were you referring to articles that would have appeared in the Watchtower and the Awake magazine?
Yes. There have been articles really as way back in 1970, in the 80s, in the 90s, and in 2000.
When you say articles, you mean articles relating to child sexual abuse?
Yes. Yes.
Are those publications available to everyone within the congregation?
Yes.
Yes. Nothing further.
Yes, Mr. Stewart.
Go to tab 109, please, the first page. So this is the organised to do Jehovah's Will document you referred to.
Correct.
Now, your involvement with BCB's case was in 1992, right?
Yes.
Go to page 2 of 109. You'll see this document came into effect in 2005.
Correct.
I take it you then wouldn't have expected BCB to have had this document in 1991-92.
No, but we did have a document prior to that.
What was that?
I I think it was entitled organised for the ministry or to do the ministry.
You don't know offhand just what that said about the processes?
I can't remember. I can't remember the release or just what it says. The release date, I should say.
Thank you, Your Honour.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Jackson. You're excused.
Thank you very much.
Next witness will be Mr. Bello. Would this be a convenient time, Your Honour?
All right, we'll take the morning adjournment.